Good evening once again, and we're just about building the attendance here. And anyway, good to know that all of you present here at least are staying safe in these trying times. It's indeed difficult to plan anything in these uncertain times, be it our official or personal engagements, leave alone KMA programs. Thanks to these kind of platforms available now, we all have been pulling on in these new normal situations. And KMA too has been innovating for the past over 10 months now. We had our inaugural event last month on the Zoom platform with none other than the top executive of our state, the Chief Secretary, Mr. Bishwas Mehta, coming in to set the tone. And we also saw the Chairman of Life Insurance Corporation of India, Mr. M.R. Kumar, addressing us and receiving the top recognition from KMA, the Management Leadership Award 2020, on the very same day. Thereafter, we have had 3 leader talk sessions with eminent leaders like Mr. Naresh Kumar Pinnisetti of Deepak Fertilizers, Dr. Santosh Ranganekar, and Dr. Shivarama Prasad, and one panel discussion with our own in-house experts and some other industry stalwarts on the statutory updates for business in these COVID times. Again, our startup conversation series also we had when we launched something called StartCon series. It's a panel discussion where we had the first one with Mr. Sujit Bhaskaran of the gig economy man and Ms. Fauzi Nizam, the cutie pie cakes lady. Last week, we launched the KMA Women Managers Forum activities of this year. And when we had our own managing committee member, Ms. Shalini Warrior of Federal Bank, putting together a very decorated panel of speakers, leading a discussion on the topic, class ceilings for women leaders, a myth or a reality. In fact, we had over 250 delegates attending that particular program. We've also seen the new revamped and recreated KMA News magazine that was released during the first month itself. That's in the last week of November. And reception the same has been engaging. I'm getting a lot of letters from many of you, appreciating the quality of the contents and the look and feel. I hope you all liked it. Today we have the 4th edition of the Leader Talks lecture of this year with another leader in this domain, or his domain rather, Mr. Vinod Chandran, founder and director of Logic School of Management, talking to us about a topic related to his expertise. The topic is disruptions in management education. While we have had many sessions in the past discussing about disruptions in the ways in which many businesses, industries, and professions function, this is a disruption of a different kind when it comes to education and management education in particular. Education is a complex services business, if you look at it that way, in which quality is difficult to define. Disruption in education, I don't think it is about replacing the low end of a well-defined product like any other industry. It's about redefining quality in a much more complex world of knowledge than that from which most current educational models were designed. I'm sure Mr. Vinod Chandran will throw a lot of light on some of these disruptions that have already happened, happening, and about to happen in the field of education, specifically in the field of management education. Some of these disruptions must have happened by design, and some must have got evolved or even expedited due to the situation like what we are going through now in these COVID times. Let us lend our ears to Mr. Chandran while he deliberates on this topic of disruption in management education in the next 30 to 40 minutes or so. Let me, on behalf of the Managing Committee at Kerala Management Association and all of us present here, wholeheartedly welcome Mr. Vinod Chandran to this edition of Leader Talks lecture series. We have many of our past presidents who are supposed to be joining here. We have our senior past president, Program Committee Chair, Mr. Sar Nair, Senior Vice President Nirmala Lilly, Honorary Secretary Jomon George, and other MC members of KMA, and other local management associations, student members, invited guests, and members of media present here. Let me welcome you all to this evening session and wish you all a very meaningful time to fill in, your brains about some new ideas which you are going to get from this particular program. As always, please take a minute out by the end of the session to fill in our feedback form, which would help us in making our events and programs even better and more useful to you and for your time spent with KMA. Uh, Once again, let me welcome you all to this very meaningful session ahead. And now to introduce the speaker and to set the ball rolling, may I request Program Committee Chair and past President Mr. S.R. Nair. He'll introduce the speaker and also handle the Q&A session. Over to you, SR. Thank you. You got to unmute, SR. Yep.
Thank you, Madhav. Thank you very much. Vinod, once again, a great welcome to you. Let me read out the resume of Vinod Chandran. Vinod Chandran is not a stranger to us. He had actually addressed KMA members during the IMA conference that has happened here in about a couple of years back. And he is based at Bangalore. Okay. Mr. Vinod Chandran is a chartered accountant and a certificate holder of specialized executive finance program of the IIM Lucknow. He started his professional career with Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, otherwise HAL, based in Bangalore, and played a pivotal role in pricing the helicopter projects and on the finalization of major contracts under the Ministry of Defense. Later on, he joined Capgemini, France, and at a senior management level, where he headed the commercial finance globally for about 3 years. In addition, Vinod also had handled the finance controller role at the Indian operations of Century Link Technologies USA. Vinod also is an academician, having helped the career of hundreds of students to become commerce management professionals in the capacity as a founder director of Logic School of Management, a leading professional education institution based at Bangalore. A couple of years back, he had turned into full-fledged entrepreneurship. That is, he left his job and came completely into the entrepreneurship. And currently is busy setting up a global e-learning venture for all type of finance and management programs such as CPA, CFA, CMA, FRM, GAP, etc., etc. A great welcome to you, Vinod. As I have said once again, little housekeeping announcement. Your questions could be kindly put in the chat mode, okay, and we'll pick it up from there. That is one. Most of you may kindly keep muted because otherwise the noise levels can go up and that's a problem. So please keep yourself muted. And yeah, that's about it. The rest of it, when Ms. Madhav will announce our next programs, etc., our president will announce to you later. Okay, we know the all yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you, SR sir. Good evening, everyone. So let me share the screen.
Yeah.
All right. I hope I am audible, clear.
You could go into yes. Now it's much better. Yes.
Yeah.
It's all fine. So yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
All right. In the year 2013, I joined Capgemini as commercial finance head. And that time, I hired a young guy named Anil. Very sharp, very hardworking, very focused, and accurate in numbers. I was utilizing him for global invoicing and collection related matters. So, one of our informal discussions, Anil was, of course, married. So, I was asking him, what about your next phase of life? So, Anil was mentioning that he could not move into the next phase of his life as he could not afford. Anil was a graduate and a MBA holder from X Institute in Yelahanka, Bangalore. Actually, Anil represents the mass crowd of MBA students in India. Recently, 2 years back, ASCOM has come up with a survey wherein around 5,000 plus, 5,500 plus B schools in India, wherein the employment rate is around 7%. On one side, we have the top B schools at IIM levels, wherein the average minimum salary of 25 lakhs plus. And on the other side, you have people like Anil struggling to meet the day-to-day life. There is a huge disparity between the two lines. Welcome to our session, Disruption on Management Education. We'll structure our session into 3 segments. One is with respect to the industrial movement, what is happening, the changes in industry, what is happening, and as a result of which, the disruption which is happening in management education. First part of our discussion. Second one, conventionally, we need to introspect the management education as such, where we are driving, what are the loopholes in it. We will try to understand that. And on the third phase, we will discuss about the way forward, how we can revamp the present situation. Starting with the first part, the industrial movement, how it is moving and how it impacts the disruption on the management education. Let's try to understand. Now, we cannot move into industrial changes or industrial scenario changes without discussing about the industrial revolutions which happen over the time. Starting with industrial revolution, 18th century, wherein from manual work replaced with mechanical energy. 100 years later, the electrical energy replacing the second industrial revolution coming up, followed with third industrial revolution of information technology and personal computing. Today, in fourth industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, digitalization, we stand towards a new world of change. When we say Industry 4.0 and related thing, it may not be very familiar for all the participants. We have a mixed crowd. For the interest of everyone, Industrial Revolution 4, to give few very basic examples, is conventional movement of Nokia based, we have this antenna based mobile to movement to a smartphone. Today, we do not discuss about taxis. It's all about Ubers. Recently, we were hearing about Swiggy meeting a crore of customers during lockdown. It's all about Industrial Revolution 4, Industry 4.0. Now, we move on to that. When we want to cover the Industrial Revolution 4, we could summarize this in 3 letters, just for memory, okay? AIR. A stands for artificial intelligence, I stands for Internet of Things, and R stands for robotics. So what we do is, I will give a brief about what exactly each of it, for the interest of everyone, and then we analyze how this creates a disruption in management education, our core subject. So when it comes to artificial intelligence, as you know, it's a common word we hear every day. It's replacing the human intelligence with machines. So the classic examples, you could see Sophia, the first robot to get citizenship from Saudi, and every walks of our life. If you look at any segment, whether it is medical, whether it is transportation, whether it is social media, whether it is marketing, any segment of it, the artificial intelligence is getting impacted. Now, how it is going to impact in management education, let us try to analyze. We'll take the very simple example of B schools, where in different streams, how it gets affected, we will evaluate. Now, let's take the example of some MBA student who takes finance as a mainstream. Risk is something which is, something when you are a finance student, risk is a topic which you cannot eliminate about it. So 2 decades back, in fact, we had, when I was in my HAL days, we had a contract signed with Boeing those days for, a specialized contract for manufacturing of some doors. So it was a very complex contract in the sense, a huge penalty clause attached to it, wherein we also have subcontracted many of the assignments to the third party. So the complexity is such that you have to deliver on a particular day, which your vendor has to supply. It was an extremely complex situation, and the penalties was extremely high. So we have to work out calculations. So much of manual efforts has to be done to identify, to match it with the project management. Now, today, when I look back, if we have the AI systems in place those days, it would have been what we could have spent, months of late nights. We could have easily resolved with, beautiful AI solutions. So, in effect, the finance segment, wherein whatever we are saying about the risk, which can be identified, the whole point is, we could identify the different aspects of it. Okay, what are the alternatives? What are the different scenarios coming up? We would be able to analyze it. Now, the point here is, when we look back to the management education, a person who do MBA finance, whether our education system, definitely, we have the B schools running with, the case law scenarios, different context is given, but is it coming to the stage wherein what is driven by an AI related industry scenario, is it updated is the question mark. Whether a situation where a B school student is upgraded, he knows the system, whether he can apply it in the industrial scenario with AI related solution is a question you need to check. So that is something relating to, I would say, risk related. Similarly, banking segment. Again, fortunately, I had the opportunity to convene audit of UCO Bank, Mumbai. It was a BC Road branch. I mean, it is supposed to be having 50% of that entire bank's revenue was, the advances being handled by that particular branch. So I'm saying about 20 years earlier. Those days, you are seeing 500 crore, 1,000 crores advances given to whatever corporates we hear. One thing what even striking me those days itself, with so much of manual work, so much of human involvement, what is the controls on it? How are we, of course there are consortium of loans, everything, but still how these controls are happening, which was something which I always was terrified. When you have the concurrent report signing, that is something which was very much alarming. Now look back today, you have a situation of people absconding with 5,000 crores of NPA loans. We have scenarios of NPAs climbing like anything. Those situations, the world is there will be a situations as the things proven. Visualize a situation, the end-to-end loan being sanctioned by a robot. I'm saying AI-driven solutions. Whatever we are discussing, the concerns about NPAs to a larger extent will be wiped off. Of course, there will be a situation, the final approvals go through the competent authorities, but up to a level. So there is no political influence coming up. There is no individual perceptions coming in. It's all programmed. And if you meet the criteria X, Y, Z, you sanction. Otherwise, you get rejected. That is the world which we are moving in. So when you say banking management system, a management student studying the banking system, we need to start updating ourselves with, okay, we know what is the NPA terms. Yes, how to evaluate it. We are aware about it. But are we equipping ourselves to evaluate a loan in an AI-driven solution where with AI, the loan being processed, are we evaluating to that? That is something which we need to evaluate. That is the disruption we are discussing about in management education. That is a change which is happening, which we need to adapt ourselves. Needless to say about trading, the way AI is getting influenced into the trading in coming days, it will be exponential. So it is about management students who are into portfolio management has to adapt it. You may be expert in trading, but it is how you are able to utilize those platforms also will be very influential in coming days. It's about, if I say from a layman's language, conventionally a person who was using the manual work, moving into computers for the first time when it comes, there was definitely a disruption. You get adapted to that. So it is about adapting to that situation. So our management education has to adapt to this disruption, wherein whatever the technological changes with respect to AI is coming up. Moving on, when it comes to marketing, each segment, I was saying about finance, marketing. Today, if you, let's say 20 years back, you need to generate, let's say 20 leads. The first thing what we will be thinking is about probably giving an advertisement in Malayalam Manorama in Kerala or Hindu or Times of India. Today, if you put money on those newspapers is as good as putting in water. The output is very less. You are thinking about digital marketing. It's all about digital marketing. So how AI-driven, how AI-driven platforms helps in digital marketing. So today's education segment has to be adapted. The conventional marketing concepts, while it continued, but it is all about enhancing your skills on digital marketing. If a person without digital marketing going to a company as marketing officer, you cannot visualize today. So whether our curriculum is updated to that, there is a disruption definitely because of the technological change. Are we adapted to that technology? Even in our curriculum is a question we need to start thinking. So this is on the marketing stream which I was mentioning. I'm not moving more into it. You follow the customer perception. All these things. There are a lot to discuss on digital marketing part, of course. Coming to HR, another stream of management education. When we look at today, conventionally we evaluate a CV, we go through it, we call it, all these things. Today, I can have millions of CV with me, and in no time, I can get the curated CV which I am looking for. I can look at, okay, this is a specific CV I need, this experience, this gender, this location, this quality, we will be able to driven with AI driven platforms. The industry is moving towards that. Whether education, the management education is getting updated. That is something we need to evaluate, because that is very critical. That, okay, you conventionally, you know everything relating to HR, but ultimately when it comes to industry, it is important that you know the intricacies of dealing with this AI driven or technology driven platform. That was on the HR platform. Similarly, when it comes to travel and tourism, supply chain and agriculture, all these areas also, all these management related fields, there have been a lot of impacts. Now, to give a simple example of supply chain, last 10 years, the supply chain globally has gone for a dynamic change. The conventional supply chain has been twisted. Now, let us quickly look at how Amazon functions, with the classic example of supply chain which moves in. Let's try.
Most people look at an Amazon fulfillment center and imagine all the stuff inside. When I look at it, I see data. I'm Russell Algor, Chief Scientist with Amazon Worldwide Operations. There are 1 to 4 million bins per fulfillment center, and on the order of 10 million items. We have computer vision systems analyzing images to help.
Now, everything in Amazon, without AI, it is practically impossible to function. Now, the point is, our education system on supply chain management, is it equipping a student with AI-driven platforms on supply chain management? Think of a management student on supply chain management moving into Amazon, start exploring to work. So there, of course, he understands the entire things on supply chain management, but the technical aspects is something which he is missing out. That is something which we need to explore. That is the disruption we are discussing about management education. Same with agriculture sector. Let's move on. Same with agricultural segment. While India is too far away from the technological side when it comes to agriculture, there are systems wherein today you could identify a particular, when you are cultivating, you could identify a particular plant which is a deficiency, you can apply specific to that. There has been dynamic changes which brought in with AI today. So that is something, when it comes to agro business, you need to start exploring those possibilities. So in effect, these are the disruptions with AI bringing into industry. The industry is moving towards, and the management education also has to be adapted to this. Moving on, A, we discussed Internet of Things. Everything is connected. Coming back with, my platform as an education background. So early days, 20 days back, when I used to take classes, it was a clear whiteboard and, marker we used to take classes. Today, I have students from different parts of the world doing in all with a login ID password. They could get into a platform like this, watch the videos, download the materials, practice the questions, contact with a click of a button. They could reach out to me over phone. All these things are possible. It's purely technological changes. Internet of Things, IoT, everything is connected. So world is moving towards this model of education. Probably, the recent pandemic has created a platform to make little more awareness about these platforms in India. But conventionally, we are in India, it is relatively less utilized. But if you look at internationally in US, Europe, this is a common platform wherein students get comfortable. So what I'm trying to say is, in management education, there is a movement need to happen wherein IoT driven platforms from a conventional movement. That's the shift we are discussing about it. Now, coming to the next part of AIR. R stands for Robotic Process Automation. Again, I go back to my Capgemini days, wherein we have, when it comes to month-end closures, when it comes to quarterly closures, it was all very hectic schedules. And one of the challenges we regularly face was on invoice processing, wherein there will be one invoice coming up. You will have a multi-level checks. The three-way match they call. It may be checking with your invoices to PO, delivery challan, and finally, invoice itself. So it was a very cumbersome, and the errors are enormous on that segment. Now today, what is happening in industry is it is completely got replaced with something called robotic process automation. Wherever we have situation where we could design a process, a specific process could be designed. Okay, this is the process for invoice processing. We could replace it with robotic automation. So in effect, whatever being done manually, it could be done with more accuracy over 3 shifts, with more precision, and with more, I would say, on a faster pace. Now, the industry, so when you look at a company like Capgemini, I'm not saying Capgemini alone. If you look at Bangalore, all the top layer companies moved into RPAs. There are, the companies like eBay have even design houses for developing RPAs. There are softwares like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, Blue Prism, wherein, there's RPA being developed by them. So in effect, the industry is completely moving towards that. And on the other side, my friend in B school probably sitting still the conventional invoicing, how to process it. There is a huge change. What is the scenario? Why he is not becoming employable is quite natural. Reason is he knows the fundamental, but is he equipped to work on an RPA based scenario? There is a lack of skill which is not updated with the technological changes. So this gap bridging is what most important part. So to summarize on our first part of discussion, we have something called AIR, which drives the changes in industry and the employment market, whichever industry you take it. It is important that our education system, particularly in management system, we need to adapt to those changes. The skill set, the related specific course curriculum designed to that. Unless if we do that, the employability becomes a question mark as we progress. Moving on, we go to the next phase of our discussion. Conventionally, we will introspect what is the situation. We were discussing about ASCOM mentioning about 7% employability. What must be the reason for it? Let us introspect a little deep dive into it. Now, before that, we need to understand the evolution of MBA as such. MBA was established somewhere in 1908 in Harvard Business School. And in India, it started in 1949 in Xavier's Labor Relations Institute in Jamshedpur. Of course, IIM started in 1961 in Calcutta for the first time. So when you look at there was an evolution happened. Subsequent to that, there is second layer and third layer of B school started coming up. What is that difference? What is that, I would say, the bridge which we need to fill in? What are the deficiencies in the second layer? What are the disruption, conventional, I would say, disruptions which is happening in B schools? Let us evaluate. Now, the first point is there is a huge disparity between demand and supply. The number of people coming in and the industry demand is less. Naturally, if you take a course like CA, why still there is a demand existing? It's because only 5% of the people, being 5 to 10% people pass. So there is a demand supply parity being maintained. In case of MBA at second layer, third layer, it is not happening. So that is one reason wherein the employability reduction has happened. You have more supply happening. Let us admit the fact that the low quality of education at the second layer and third layer. There is a huge gap of updating with the skill set and industrial requirements. That is the third part, skill set updation. As we discussed, how many schools are updated with RPA driven platforms? Something we need to really introspect. Syllabus need to be updated regularly. That is something which is lacking over the time. So that is something we seriously need to look back and take it forward. The internship programs and this projects. So I have seen, in my HL days, we used to hire a lot of interns. A lot of people used to come for internship. The first common question everyone used to ask, sir, any previous report is there? So that they could comfortably. So that is unfortunately the situation with which we are going through. Let us accept the truth. Now, so that there has to be a change. So if you look at until now the discussion part one is on the industrial disruption, the changes which is happening as a result of the management education disruption. The second part is on the conventionally we ourselves the B schools need to revamp the situation. Now, how we revamp the situation, how we change it, what is the way forward, how we can change it, that is something we need to, let's look into that. Future focus. Fundamental thing is skill development. We need to ensure that what is industrial requirement, the B school need to adapt to that skill set. The classic example is RPAs. A BPO like Capgemini or a KPO like or BPO KPO like Capgemini EY today require people who have skill set in RPA. Whether our B schools can deliver it, that is something we need to explore. Curriculum has to be updated in line with that. There cannot be any compromises on that. Internship has to be taken at a very serious level, as there are students available in, few of the tips for internship is, first thing is you need to take up which sector. You need to have a clarity of which sector you need to move on. Specific, identify even the cities, the location where you have more employability possibilities. You should explore that. Take it to the next level of seriousness so that the internship, the output expected will be delivered. Now, the second part is on the project side. I was talking to one of the IAM Calicut graduates recently. So he was mentioning that there is a conventional shift, there is a shift happened from conventional projects to live projects. So wherein what they do is the senior members who of IAM Calicut who have qualified and created startups, they acquire the present batch students for live projects. So in effect, they get a chance to work on a real-time environment. They get the practical exposure. They are becoming more job ready. You get a live environment to work on it. That is one major change, I would say, on when it comes to projects, you need to explore it. So first, when we say few steps to revamp the situations, one is internship, how much seriously we can take it up. Skill development is the second part. Then move on the live projects, how seriously we could take it up. Then MOOC courses. MOOC courses is not something new, which is already in existence, but probably this the pandemic has created a vibe wherein people working from home and online platforms, which created more possibility to explore MOOC courses. These are very short courses. There are platforms like Coursera, Udemy, where you could explore many of the courses and develop the skill set. These are skill set development courses. Each of your segments, whether it is finance, whether it is marketing, any of the segment, you will have courses available which you can utilize really to enhance your next level of growth. Last but not least, on the revamping of the situation, I would say the students should start exploring the possibilities of having some short-term professional courses along with MBA programs, B school programs. These are programs which could be completed in 6 months to 9 months time. They could do along with BCom and then add the tag of, if there are programs like certified management accountant, excellent program wherein they could complete in a span of 6 to 9 months time. And that really creates a better employability perspective for them. That is something students should explore it. There are programs like FRM, another program called FRM, Financial Risk Management, wherein, as you know, the risk is the keyword today. It is how much you can be proactive to the risk, how much you can, you could ascertain the risk. All these industries are looking for it. So if you are a professional on risk management, that really makes a difference. So this is something which I would say students should explore as to, moving forward along with your B school degree, you could explore to do it so that you become more employable along with your other curriculum. Now, let's conclude with a video. So what I was trying to say, so if you look at a summary of all these things, we were discussing about, we started with the changes happening on industry on the first side and the disruption on account of it. Okay, so we said artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, robotics, automation, robotic process automation, all these things we were discussing, and the changes, the disruption which is happening in industry. And as there is a change, industrial change happening, whether the management education conventional management is going for a disruption. So that is something we discussed on the first side. Second side, we were evaluating the conventional flows in our management education system: lack of proper internship, lack of skill set, lack of project being delivered. So we try to analyze that. And the third part, the future, how we move ahead with it. What is the way proactively we could resolve these situations? So few of the thought process, better internship and project management, enhancing the skill. The curriculum should be enhanced with project programs like RPAs and stuff like that, where they could update to the industrial needs. And finally, having some add-on qualifications, professional qualifications like CMAs or FRMs or related to that. So in effect, the technological changes will be happening. The changes every time it is going to happen. We have to adapt. Let's find a very interesting video. We'll conclude with that.
Yep, it's true.
The audit.
Robots have entered the world of accounting.
The forecast.
But if you're a certified management accountant, you're not worried.
The risk assessment.
You'll still set the strategy, and you'll still make the decisions.
Sorry, I was just keeping your seat warm.
Because you won't be working for that.
So that's about how you can adapt, and you could be on driver's seat despite the changing times. So that's it from my side, and hope you could get some insights what is happening on the disruptions and probable way forward for management education. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinod Chandran, for a very crisp presentation, spanning about roughly about 30-minute plus in terms of disruptions in management education. With the help of some of those case studies, you have actually gone into analyzing as to how technology has impacted upon the industry, and therefore the requirement of the industry changing with respect to the management students that we have. It is understood you also had stressed upon the necessity of better internships and projects, and getting additional qualifications and specific links. Okay. Now, I agree with you. As you've seen, when the quantity increases, the quality decreases. Okay, that is one thing that we had seen. At the same time, institutions like the IIMs and the types, they are maintaining the quality aspect, and they're also getting the creme de la creme students as far as from across the country. So and they also come with some level of an experience, and they are industry ready by the time they come out of these institutions. Whereas when we see in the next level, that is university MBAs, and thereafter engineering college based MBAs, and thereafter arts and science college MBAs, and thereafter distance education MBAs, etc., that you look at it, you see a huge erosion of quality, and also no practicality in their learning, such as internships and such as projects and such as things like that. I used to, as an IIM, in those days, I mean, I had seen in 2016, 2017, when these boys and girls go for internship, here, not even apprentice fees or internship fee is given, whereas, they are paid 75,000 to 80,000 to 1 lakh rupees as internship fee by the respective industry, so that they can understand that they could tap their talent and tap their wisdom and competencies, and then maybe probably use them on long term as they graduate out of IIMs. Agree with you. But now I have some pertinent questions. You have been actually going with technology, particularly the AIR, the AI, artificial intelligence, IoT and robotics. Of course, there are allied things like, virtual reality, machine learning, and so many other things. Okay. Now, we have a challenge, we are 1.35 billion people. Okay. We have more than 70 crore people in India who are less than 35. And you appreciate that the best of the productivity happened in a human being between 20 and 40 years. Okay, so the best of the best, when they're available, they come with some level of a university undergraduate qualification, or even this quality-less postgraduate education, etc. Education management, etc. That they come, and you had said that they are not getting the employment because they are employable. They are not employment ready, or they are so. What we see is that the knowledge and the skills and the attitude combining actually gives them the employment. And definitely what is missing is, it is half the knowledge and it is no skills, and it is the attitude being not there, and that is what we have seen that's resulting. My question to you, therefore, one is that, see, how do we take care of employees? See, whatever you have said is actually automation, and automation takes away people. Automation takes away people. So, if I get these people, MBAs and engineers and all, how do I get them employed in a country where 70 crore people are close to between 25 and 30, and many of them are educated in MBA, engineering and MBA? So, how do we get them employed? Do you have any thoughts on this?
Right. So this is exactly probably the question we asked ourselves 20 years back when the computers came up for some time. We have a situation wherein the employability will wiped off, with computers coming up. To give some live examples, I know Mahindra Technologies today have around 2,500 RPA trained employees, the RPA certified. To be precise, they are UiPath trained resources. Now,
One
why
second, sorry, interruption. Is this employees MBA holders, or are they engineers, or are they
mix
undergrads?
of it? I would say a mix of it.
Okay.
Mix of it, not purely engineers. It's a mix of it.
Yeah.
So UiPath doesn't require a pre-qualification of engineering.
Okay.
So when we look at from why Mahindra has been so proactive on it, the next wave which is going to come to India is about automation is we cannot, or the AI interfaces we cannot be keeping away. It is going to hit across the globe, and India being the resource friendly and having a labor available at a cheaper resource. What is going to be the next wave, according to me, will be AI conversion, from a conventional platform to AI-driven platform. That movement, AI-certified resources will be required, and that will create a lot of employment opportunities. Of course, as I said earlier, Capgemini today do not require people for invoice processing. There is a disruption, and there is a lot of layoffs. At the same time, as it moves, more assignments on the AI-driven platforms is coming up. Definitely, it will be getting replaced, and as the time progresses, more and more will be driving towards that.
Will this be in the time? See, like if you really look at it in IT, we have had close to we have more than about 10 million people employed in IT,
Right.
in IT enabled service, etc.
Right.
Do you think AI will accommodate to that extent? AI will accommodate these students?
Absolutely. So it will be a gradual progression. So who would have thought of having India being a BPO or KPO hub in 20 years before? When the economy was closed economy. Today, what we are driven as a service segment. So when we look
Okay.
at from the change which has happened from 20 years to now, it is going to be because recently I was attending a platform on IoT. So what we seen as startups like Swiggy or similar platforms, where the startup, there was around 1,500 startups which was came up for in that IoT platform. So all
Okay.
these are innovations which is going to come. So one unique thing about this industrial revolutions, the speed with which our industry 4.0 is happening is in a very rapid pace compared to the previous. So we will be seeing dynamic changes in our day-to-day life, and it is important that we need people to update ourselves to that. So yes, there will be layoffs in times to come, there will be changes, but we will be adapting, and there will be an equilibrium will be created over the time, for sure. And indeed India, particularly India, I would say it is very safe.
I had seen and I have read and I have been watching the WTO problems that has happened between US and China on the excess shipment and the glut, and thereafter the COVID happening, and China and America becoming no friends, and then supply chain getting disrupted totally, because China used to be the manufacturing hub of the world. When the supply chains were getting disrupted, everyone was telling that the next manufacturing and the supply chain is going to happen in India. But I really do not see whether, I really do not know whether we have actually gradually gained that competency in supply chain management within our country. And what is your thoughts on this?
So while we highlight on the supply chain, definitely that is one part. But my highlight would be more on how on the manufacturing. Even today, while we say we move towards service segment, manufacturing segment is something where we need to really I would say, need to stabilize, and we need to make it more adapted to the situation. Like recently, of course, we have Samsung, news of Samsung coming to UP. All these things are the starting stages of it. But beyond this, I would say there are a lot of things we need to stabilize fundamentally. Like an investor, coming from different
But
parts.
is India, so though we are a soft power, etc., no, like what you have shown is a small video for about 10 seconds, like what's happening in Amazon, where 5 million items, 1.2 million bins collecting all these things, to that level of automation. Do you think India is capable of producing? Yeah.
Absolutely. So particularly, in if you look at industry like supply chain, wherein we take the example of Amazon, it's
Yeah.
already started. We are moving into that segment already. It is move happening. My concern is more on more than the technological part. Are we equipped for from a fundamental point of view? So are we today when it comes to AI and there are more investment coming up? As a country, we are our laws, our the relating to use investor friendly approaches, are we equipped for this? That would be a more concern that the technological adaptation we will definitely have been adapted over the time. Even for AI will be definitely this one, but we need to equip ourselves. Okay, an investor coming into India, how easily he can start a business, how easily he could sustain the tax laws in India. So all these things, if we stabilize the technological part, it's just a part of matter of time we will adapt. We have been doing it for times. That's my thought.
I was actually looking for questions in the chat mode, but I had come across this very interesting question to me. Actually, he says, "Nair sir, are you not monopolizing this question session?" I am definitely not monopolizing the Q&A session. I want all of you to ask questions. So it was actually the housekeeping announcement said that please put your questions into the chat mode. We will announce your name and put the question across to him, and that was the way we have been doing. So, Mr. Dr. Ajay Kumar, there is no monopolizing. In fact, I am every time I was asking questions to Mr. Vinod Chandran, I was going to the chat board to find out if there are questions, and if I don't find questions, and I'm forced to monopolize with the question. If you really want to ask a question, please send it to me. I can ask the question on your behalf, and not one question, any number of multiple questions. So please don't have any feeling that I am monopolizing this. I have no intention to do that. In fact, I'm forced to do it because you're not asking questions. Dr. Ajay Kumar, please shoot your questions. In the meanwhile, coming back. See now, do you think I have this question because in the West, something close to about a decade back, there's a major move away from the MBAs and going into social sciences, getting people with sociology and getting people with those level of qualifications to come and lead the industry. Okay. Now, don't you think that, and you also have said that there is a supply demand equation which is ultified, which has become ulta. Earlier, we had a lot of MBAs, less MBAs and a lot of jobs, and now we have lots of MBAs and less jobs. Okay. Now, do you think that we limit these MBA qualifications, or we actually maneuver people towards skill development as a key, or do you think that the country can accommodate as many number of MBAs that they come out of the institutions?
I think that's a very interesting question, sir. So one point, what I believe is, the particularly, I would relate that with present situation also. With pandemic coming up, we move towards a gig economy. We'll have more of jobs coming up in gig models. The portion of the job, and so there will be a lot of influence. That is where I was suggesting about those short courses of Coursera, all those MOOC courses which will add value. So I would say fundamentally the MBA programs which stay on, probably we need to evaluate a situation of enhancing the skill set, and adding on with specific skill sets will make a huge impact, is what my thought. So I do not foresee a situation students going ahead, because if you look at by and large India, it is education is given a lot of importance. So when it comes to higher education, and of course it's in different states, it varies, but the importance for higher education is given a lot of prominence. And when we look at from that perspective, I would say there will be the courses like MBA or similar courses. I was mentioning about the other professional courses which is coming up, CMA, FRM, those courses. Definitely there will be prominence coming to our continuity. At the same time, the MOOC courses will be adding for the skill set which will meet the JIG requirements also. That's my thought.
Mr. Vinod Chandan, there is this question. Thank you very much, Raji. You mentioned that students should be encouraged to know where they want to work and which specialization that they want to do. Do you recommend only students with work experience apply for MBA degrees? That being the only way one can meaningfully know which space to work in. Please bear in mind, people really hire kids with bachelor degrees. So where should they be? What should they be doing? This MBA? Where should they be studying? What should they be specializing on?
Sir, sorry, in between the voice got slightly break, sir. Sorry.
The question that Raji had asked is, these MBA students, what specialization that they should do so that they can become employable and they can actually have meaningful living.
All right. So, I mean, it is a purely individual choice. I would say when it comes to specialization, I would say it has to be, a individual counseling with student, understand his perceptions, and that should be the basis with which we should move on. But when it comes to opportunities, of course, today, if you look at the commerce stream, when it has a finance stream, it is something which is, in fact, even if you look at from movement from engineering to finance, there is the finance is something which I noticed that not that I'm from finance stream, but there is unlimited potential which I have observed. But ultimately,
I think I hardly see people taking finance. I have seen people go into HR, people go into logistics, people go into marketing. But if I have 60 students, I'll see only about 10 or 12 take finance actually.
That's a reality, sad reality. But the requirements and the demands are mostly on the finance segment. But having said that, so I would say, to give an example, let's say when we hire people in Capgemini those days. So if we have, let's say, 1,000 people I take for process, predominantly people from BCom and MBA finance and related backgrounds. So when we look at HR, I need a group of HR people, 10 people to handle this 1,000 people. I need core accountants. Even accountants I hire separately, who maybe 5 to 10 people who are onto core accounting. There may be an IT team to support. So those are treated as a service line. So when we look at the operational side, I need process, wherein I need finance related BA. So the opportunity is definitely more on the finance side, but ultimately depends upon the individual.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ajay Kumar, for the question. And I am also absolved from the crime of monopolizing by your question. Okay, sir. Are there any bridge courses for people already working to move to this AI platform? Dr. Ajay Kumar is asking.
All right. So I would say it is again depends upon see, when it comes to AI, I have been associated with a lot of basic foundations of AI platforms out of interest. So what I observe is, whether it is at a student level or at a experience level, it's as good as a starting point. So in my view, I would suggest you could start with something on a very basic foundations of AI programs, which will give some insights about the way.
Wait, is it a MOOC program that you're suggesting, or are there certified schools available across?
So there are, one is the MOOC programs available. Then there are some basic certification programs that are also provided by different, similar institutes. So you will be able to get those, and that will fetch you an idea to which what level of interest and aspirations you have on that field. So ultimately, once you go through that basic level, you get it. Okay, whether you want to go into the higher next level of programming levels or to the advanced level, or you should be at a working level, you should be able to, so that you will be able to assess with these programs. So I would say to start with a very basic AA program and take a decision based on that. That's my thought.
I have next question coming from Professor Gio Baby, my good friend from Vishwayodhi Institute of Management. He writes, we are now in online mode where students are sitting at home. You are telling that lack of skills in the disruptive technology is going to be the major problem. What about interpersonal skills, social intelligence, emotional quotient that they develop when they have social life in the campus? What makes a successful leader? Is it just technical knowledge? What do you think?
All right, good question. So maybe I park the question into two segments. One is the technological part of, we could treat these two questions separately. One is the technological requirement, which is one part of the requirement. So I think all of us agree that when it comes to the technological, so for somebody to be placed in RPA, in Capgemini or similar EY or similar companies, definitely he need to have the skill set. That is something which we cannot keep away. Now, coming back to the second part of the question, the social intelligence, emotional quotient. Yes, these are the times with online situation happening. The engagement levels are less, more additional courses relating to. I would call it as a more on HR stream where the human intelligence, the emotional and other factors which need to be factored. Definitely, those are part of inevitable part of and development which an individual need to happen when it comes to the corporate. So definitely, this is not contradicting. I would say both should go on hand. It is something on the technological side. He has to be updated, and as an organization, irrespective of the technology, the fundamental skills like social intelligence, emotional quotient, all these things has to happen. And we can hope that as sir was mentioning, the social campus life will it will come up very soon, and we'll back to have to the normal life back.
Yeah, this is my last question before I hand over to my president. I just want to augment to what you have said. You have said AI, but then I would definitely like to take the attention of the B school professors and the students into something called data science. Okay, now data science comes much before the AI, and that's where you have data analytics, big data analytics, and that goes to predictability. And that when the predictability happens, only AI comes into the picture. And from AI, you give it to the machine learning. Then the machine learns by itself. That's where the Sophias and Siris, etc., actually Google Assistant, etc., playing a role. So I understand the gradations on that. But I do believe that our MBA graduates and engineers are well poised to become the data scientists actually. And the demand for the data science or demands for data, the role of data scientists across spectrum, whether it is drug discovery, whether it is genomics, whether it is industry, whether it is retail, whether it is distribution, whether it is supply chain, wherever you look at it, the need for data science. So I would reckon that the MBA program, the likes of Dr. Ajay Kumar and Dr. Jio, Dr. Krishna Kumar, etc., must be really looking at augmenting data science into the mind of the MBA students and the engineering students, so that they move into that realm, they get into the group, and from data science they get into predictability and also there are programs like SPSS, R programming, Python programming, etc. These are not very difficult to learn. These are all good programs learned for particularly provided an attitude towards that, and actually that takes you. Vinod, from my side, I really thank you for coming and giving a very crisp presentation, which was very graphic centric as well. And I now hand you over to my president, and he will do the next of the announcements and thereafter into the vote of thanks. Thank you very much. Over to you, Madhav.
Sir, and thanks to KMI for giving
No, don't go. Dr. Madhav has to actually continue.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vinod Chandran, and thank you, SR, for that deliberation. Of course, the very lucid presentation which you made in the beginning with a structured manner with three different phases to the whole flow of events, and then the question answer session where there is monopolizing or not. SR pulled out many of the contents from you, adding more meat to what you presented here, and definitely 2-3 questions also came from the audience. Altogether, it was a different perspective of disruption actually, which we saw here. Normally, when we talk about disruption, it is all about a system being changed. Here, rather than that, you're talking about the contents being added into the current education system, rather than a disruption in the education system per se. Good. It is definitely an excitement for me, because being in the technology field, the role of technology in improving education is a good thing as far as I'm concerned. In any case, whatever happening in that mode is definitely a welcome change, and it is happening everywhere, and also in the educational segment. And our students have to be well kept abreast about all these developments, and that's the only way in which they can be made scalable. And that's exactly what KMA kind of institutions are looking for, how to enable that process rather than just educating them and making them a graduate or a postgraduate, making them scalable and employable, as SR was saying in the beginning. To make them employable is what every institute must look for and focus for, and that could be the disruption we are talking here. Thank you so much for that wonderful session which you gave, Mr. Vinod, and we are all thankful to you for being here with KMA. To the members who are present here, guests who are present here, we have a series of programs again lined up for this month, even though it's Christmas season. We have one more startup conversation, the StartCon series program happening, which is happening on 20th of December. We have two of the prominent startup ventures of our state, the X-Travel Money, an online forex aggregator who won the KMA award earlier. Sharing the panel with them will be the Government of India award-winning online conference solution, vConsole, from our nearby Chertala. This will be a conversation session moderated by our program committee chair S.R. Nair. And one more leader talks session, which is going to happen at the end of the month. That's on 29th of December, before we get into the New Year mode. That is by Dr. Sandeep Krishnan, adjunct professor at IIM Indore, who is going to be talking to us in the leader talk sessions. And we may have another major program coming up. We are just putting up, the ingredients together, where we may have our governor of Kerala himself addressing the Kerala Management Association, where he may be giving away the Technology Leadership Award to none other than the ADGP of police, Mr. Manoj Abraham. So that just finalizing the date. It could happen anytime this month. So these are the programs. So please keep watching and keep your eyes and ears open for the notices coming from the KMA Secretariat. And today we have our joint secretary in place of secretary, because secretary was not unable to. I was taking some phone calls because he was desperately calling him, saying that his internet connection is not working. So we have our joint secretary standing in, Mr. Algiers Khalid, who is going to propose the formal vote of thanks. Over to Algiers Khalid.
Mr. President Madhav Chandran, Speaker of the Day, Mr. Vinod Chandran, Chairman, Program Committee and Moderator of the session, S.R. Nair, Senior Vice President Nirmala Lilly, Management Committee members, past presidents, KMA members, and the management students. First of all, let me thank Speaker of the Day, Mr. Vinod Chandran, for beautifully articulating the topic of the day, disruptions in management education. You have wonderfully explained it to everyone so nicely and so beautifully.
Thank you, sir.
35 years back, when I did my management education, post my engineering and graduation in engineering, I used to convince myself that my engineering was only helping my analytical ability in management. Today, after listening to you, it is clear that the future managers are going to be technology driven, with curriculum in artificial intelligence, robotics, and all being so relevant for in future. I'm sure all the participants would agree with me that Speaker Mr. Vinod Chandran beautifully explained the important points to be relevant in future, and also avoid disruptions in management education. On behalf of the Management Committee, I would also thank our Senior Past President and Moderator for the day, Mr. S.R. Nair, for moderating this session so well and raising all the relevant questions on the specialization, bridge courses, etc., etc. One more excellent speaker session today. Thank you, Program Committee Chair, Mr. S.R. Nair. Looking forward to many more such exciting sessions. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank President of KMA, Mr. Madhav Chandran, and all the Management Committee members for organizing this excellent session today. Last but not the least, all the participants, all KMA members and management students for attending this session today. Thank you all. Thank you once again. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Joint Secretary Mr. Algiers Khalid. Mr. Vinod, we have a very specially curated memento coming your way. It is not virtual, it's a physical one, which will show a proof of you being here. That's the one, the photograph of you.
It's the real time, Vinod.
It's a real one, which is going to come to you very soon. So thank you so much once again, family, and thank you, Algiers, for that vote of thanks which you proposed. And thank you all, one and all. Be safe. Stay at home or go outside only in a limited manner, and let us all remain healthy and safe and happy. And let's look forward to 2021, forgetting the 2020 miseries. Thank you so much. And